Hey everyone, today's lesson is going to be about factors and multiples. When you guys get back to school on Thursday, we're going to be talking about greatest common factor and least common multiple. So before we get into any of that, I want to make sure we understand factors and multiples today so that we're not confused when we start that. So I want to start off by talking about what are factors. So factors are any numbers that are multiplied together to get a product. So if you take any two numbers in the world and they multiply together to get a bigger number, those two numbers are factors of that bigger number. So, for example, you see 24 up here in the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24 are all factors of 24 because all of these numbers multiply together with another number in this set to get to 24. For example, 3 multiplies with 8 to get to 24, and 2 multiplies with 12 to get to 24. So all of these numbers are factors of 24. So let's do an example here. So you see the number 12 here. We know that 3 times 4 gives us 12. Well, we also know that 2 times 6 gives us 12. And we also know that 1 times 12 gives us 12. And if I'm not confused here, I don't think any other numbers multiply together, any other whole numbers multiply together to get to 12. So now I can look at this and I can look at all of my factors. So now that I know all these numbers multiply together to get to 12, I know that 3 is a factor, 4 is a factor, 2 is a factor, 6 is a factor, 1 is a factor, and 12 is a factor of 12. And these are all the factors of 12. So then I can list them just like this. All right, you can list them in any order, but they're all factors of 12 because they all multiply together to get to 12. Then I had the number 21. Let's do another example. So I know that 1 times 21 obviously is going to give me 21. So I know that 1 and 21 are both factors. And then the only other thing I can think of that multiplies together to get to 21, that's a whole number, are 3 times 7. So 21 only has 4 factors. The factors of 21 are 1, 3, 7, 21. So sometimes numbers might have a lot of factors, sometimes numbers might not have a lot of factors. So 21 only has 4. So now I want you to try. What are the factors of 20? If you need scratch paper, that's fine. But what are the factors of 20? Okay, let's see how you did. We know that 5 times 4 gives us 20. We know that 2 times 10 gives us 20. And you should have known that 1 times 20 gives us 20. So 20 has 6 factors, and they are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. Let's try another one. Actually, before we try another one, I have another thing that goes with factors that might be maybe easier for you to understand. So sometimes they do factor rainbows to make it a little bit easier to see where they attach. So you can set up factor rainbow the way that this is set up here as well. So if I was looking at the factor rainbow for 18, this is how I could set it up instead of doing what we just did by trying to find the pairs that match together. So you could start with 1. So if I started with 1, I need to think about what number times 1 is going to give me 18. Well, I know that 18 times 1 is going to give me 18. So I can find 18 over here and I can attach it with a rainbow arch. Then I can move on to the next number. I can look at 2. Then I think to myself, what does 2 times what is going to give me 18? If it doesn't match up with it, then it's probably not a factor. But in this case, 2 times 9 is going to give me 18. And then I put another arch between those two. And then finally, I get to 3 times 6, and that's going to be my third arch. So obviously, if I tried 4 out, 4 is not a factor of 18, so you're not going to have another number to match up. So we're done. There's 18's factor rainbow. Here's another one just to show you. Here's the factor rainbow for 40. So we know that 1 times 40, that attaches together to form that arch, is going to be 2 factors of 40. 2 times 20, 4 times 10, and 5 times 8. So 40 has 8 factors. So this is just another way to set it up if the factor rainbows is maybe easier for you to understand. Now, I want to give you a chance to think about this as well. So I'm going to show you a factor rainbow for 36. So if I was looking at 36's factor rainbow, I want you to think about what parts are missing here. So take a look. I have put question marks on 3 of the numbers. So what numbers would go into those spots in order to make the factor rainbow complete? Okay, if you did this correctly for 36, you should see that 1 times what would give me 36? Obviously, 1 times 36 is going to give me 36. All right, and then you see that the other ones are filled in as well. 3 times 9 is going to give me 36, and 2 times 18 is going to give me 36, and 4 times 9 is going to give me 36. Now we're going to get into what are multiples. All right, multiples are different than factors, so I don't want you to get confused. what are multiples? So if I'm looking at multiples, these are a little bit different. I'm still using numbers, but it's not going to be looking at the numbers that multiply together to get to a bigger number. It's going to be what numbers are going to occur once I start multiplying a number by 2 and by 3 and by 4 and by 5. It's actually, multiples are just the product of a given number and another whole number. So it's basically just multiplying numbers together with a number to get more numbers. I know that sounds like a lot of numbers and sounds very confusing, but just wait for my examples and I think you'll get it. So multiples, if I were want to find the multiples of 3, you see I put 3 here in blue. The multiples of 3, I'm just basically skip counting. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So I would do 3 times 2 is going to give me 6, 3 times 3 is going to give me 9, 3 times 4 is going to give me 12, and I can keep going and going and going. So finding multiples is as simple as skip counting. If I'm giving you a number and I'm asking you to find me the multiples, I just want you to skip count. So if I'm asking you to find the multiples of 5, I'm going to skip count 5. I know 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, then we got 20, 25, 30, and then that keeps going on and on and on. So I can look at this and I can see that all of these are multiples of 5. These are not the only multiples of 5 though, because remember it's going to keep going. I could have 35, 40, 45, 50, and that just keeps going on and on and on until you stop. Okay, so then if I look at multiples of 12, same process. I'm going to skip count or I'm going to multiply. So 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24, or you can think about 12 plus 12. I'm going to add another 12, or 12 times 3 is 36, 48, 60, 72, and you notice that they just keep adding on and on. So all of these numbers here are multiples of 12. These are not the only multiples of 12, but these are 6 of the multiples of 12. And just here, just as a reference, remember, all you're doing is taking that first number and multiplying it by the next number. So 12 times 2, 12 times 3, 12 times 4, 12 times 5, 12 times 6, right? Or you just skip counting. So that's how we find multiples. That's a little bit different than factors. All right, now it's your turn again. What are the first 5 multiples of 10? So start with 10, and I want you to get the next 5. All right, if you start with 10, all you have to do is 10 times 1, 10 times 2, 10 times 3, 10 times 4, or 10 times 5, or skip count by tens. So the first 5 are going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. What about the first 5 multiples of 4? So again, start with 4, and then skip count. 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, 4 times 5. All right, if we start with 4, the next multiple will be 8, then 12, then 16, then 20, and it keeps going on and on and on. Okay? So now, this is where people get confused. What's a factor? What's a multiple? All right, remember, factors are numbers that multiply together to get to a bigger number. Multiples are taking a number and skip counting. Okay? So just to show you an example with one number, if I were to give you the number 8, all right, and if I wanted you to find the factors of 8, I would ask you to find what multiplies together to get to 8. So remember, 1 times 8 will give us 8, and 2 times 4 will give us 8. So these are the factors of 8. But if I ask you to find the multiples of 8, that's not finding the factors. That's different. So I'm asking you to find the multiples of 8 over here. Remember, this is just skip counting. So the multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, and so on. Okay, so you can see here that they're a little bit different, and you can get confused a little bit. But remember, factors are always going to be numbers that multiply together to get to a product, and multiples, you're always skip counting, and you're going to find out what the number is, and you're going to keep multiplying by the next number in the line. So like, for example here, 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3, 8 times 4, 8 times 5, forever and ever and ever. If you have any questions or you need any one-on-one help, let me know. We can set up a Google Meet. Send me an email, and can't wait to see you guys on Thursday.